Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract toxic relationships over and over again while others rarely become a target? It may look like bad luck, but psychology suggests something very different. Toxic people rarely choose their victims at random. From the very first interaction, they begin paying attention to subtle behaviors that reveal how you handle pressure, conflict, and personal boundaries. They notice how quickly you trust, whether you apologize too easily, and how often you place other people's needs ahead of your own. These small signals help them identify who may be the easiest to influence. Ironically, many of the qualities that make you a kind, dependable, and emotionally mature person after the age of 35 can become attractive to someone who thrives on manipulation if those qualities are not protected by healthy boundaries. One of the first things toxic people test is your willingness to defend your personal limits. Their actions often seem harmless at first. They may interrupt you, arrive late without apologizing, ask for inconvenient favors, or make jokes at your expense to see how you react. These are not random behaviors. They are small tests designed to measure how much disrespect you will tolerate. Every time you ignore these warning signs or excuse poor behavior, you unintentionally teach them that your boundaries can be pushed without consequences. Over time, those minor violations often grow into much larger forms of manipulation because they have learned that you are unlikely to challenge them. This pattern becomes even more common as people get older. By your mid-30s, you have likely developed greater patience, empathy, and emotional control. You may be focused on your career, your family, or simply maintaining peace in your life. Because of that, speaking up over small issues can feel unnecessary. Unfortunately, toxic people often mistake your maturity for permission. They see your calm nature not as confidence, but as a sign that you will avoid confrontation, giving them room to push further. The truth is that healthy boundaries are not rude or selfish. They communicate self-respect and quickly reveal who values you and who only values the access they have to you. But boundaries are only the beginning. Once toxic people see how you respond to small tests, they start looking for another powerful clue that predicts whether you'll be easy to manipulate. Surprisingly, it isn't your kindness or generosity. It's the way you handle conflict. And that single habit can determine whether someone sees you as a respected equal or an easy target. Most people believe avoiding conflict is a sign of emotional maturity, and in many situations, it is. By the time you've reached your mid-30s, you've probably learned that not every disagreement deserves your time or energy. But toxic people often see conflict avoidance very differently. They notice whether you stay silent to keep the peace, apologize just to end an argument, or repeatedly compromise while the other person gives nothing in return. To them, these reactions suggest that your desire for harmony is stronger than your willingness to protect your own boundaries. Once they recognize that pattern, they know that applying pressure is often enough to get their way. This is why toxic individuals frequently create situations that make you uncomfortable. They may become overly emotional, raise their voice, play the victim, or create unnecessary drama because they've learned that emotional intensity often causes agreeable people to give in. Over time, you may find yourself accepting extra responsibilities at work, tolerating disrespect from friends, or backing down in relationships simply because arguing feels exhausting. The problem is no longer the disagreement itself. Your discomfort with conflict has become a tool someone else can use to influence your decisions. Healthy people respect boundaries when they're calmly expressed. Toxic people often resist them because they benefited from you not having any. Another behavior toxic people closely observe is how quickly you trust. Trust is the foundation of every healthy relationship, but psychology tells us it should be built gradually through consistent actions, not instant chemistry. Manipulative people often create the illusion of closeness by showering you with compliments, agreeing with everything you say, and sharing deeply personal stories almost immediately. It can feel like you've met someone who truly understands you, but sometimes that connection is carefully accelerated to lower your guard. Once you begin sharing your fears, insecurities, financial struggles, or past experiences too soon, you've unknowingly handed them valuable information they can later use to influence your emotions. The lesson isn't to become suspicious of everyone you meet. It's to allow trust to grow at the same pace as evidence. Genuine character isn't revealed through charming conversations or impressive first impressions. It's revealed through consistent behavior over time. When someone repeatedly demonstrates honesty, accountability, and respect, trust naturally follows. Toxic people, however, prefer to speed up that process because the sooner they gain your confidence, the sooner they gain influence over your decisions. And once they know they've earned your trust, they begin testing something even more important, whether their unhealthy behavior will be rewarded or challenged. That is where the real psychology of manipulation begins. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing manipulation always looks dramatic. In reality, it often develops through small, repeated interactions that slowly reshape the relationship. Human behavior is driven by reinforcement, meaning we naturally repeat actions that produce the results we want. Toxic people may not understand the science behind it, but they understand the pattern. If giving you the silent treatment makes you chase after them, they'll do it again. If guilt-tripping convinces you to cancel your plans or abandon your own needs, that strategy becomes one of their favorite tools. Every successful attempt teaches them that the behavior works, making it even more likely to happen in the future. Many kind-hearted people unknowingly strengthen this cycle. They continue giving second chances after repeated disrespect, apologize to restore peace even when they did nothing wrong, or constantly rearrange their lives to satisfy someone else's demands. These responses come from compassion, not weakness, but toxic people often interpret them very differently. They see repeated forgiveness as permission rather than grace. This becomes especially common after the age of 35, when preserving long-term friendships, family bonds, or relationships can feel more important than confronting uncomfortable truths. Unfortunately, protecting the relationship at all costs sometimes comes at the expense of protecting yourself. When those tactics stop producing the desired results, manipulative people often change their approach. Instead of controlling your actions directly, they begin targeting your confidence in your own judgment. You leave conversations wondering if you misunderstood what happened or if you're somehow being too sensitive. They deny things you clearly remember, justify hurtful behavior with excuses, or accuse you of the very actions they're guilty of themselves. Over time, these repeated contradictions create confusion, making you rely more on their version of reality than your own observations. Once self-doubt takes hold, manipulation becomes much easier because you begin questioning yourself before questioning them. This is where emotionally healthy people often regain control. Healthy relationships encourage honest self-reflection, but they also require mutual accountability. If one person is always apologizing, while the other never accepts responsibility, the imbalance speaks for itself. Trust your observations when someone's actions consistently contradict their words, and pay attention to recurring patterns instead of isolated incidents. People who genuinely care about you welcome accountability because it strengthens the relationship. Those who depend on manipulation usually resist it. And once they realize their usual tactics are no longer working, they often abandon the game entirely and begin searching for someone who is easier to influence. If you've ever walked away from a toxic relationship, you may have noticed how quickly that person found someone else to manipulate. That isn't usually a coincidence. Over time, toxic individuals become skilled at recognizing familiar personality traits. They're naturally drawn to people who avoid conflict, ignore early warning signs, and keep giving chances without expecting meaningful change. Kindness itself is not the problem. The real issue is kindness without boundaries. Healthy people appreciate your empathy while respecting your limits. Toxic people appreciate your empathy only when it gives them greater control over your time, energy, and emotions. Breaking this pattern doesn't begin with changing toxic people, because that's something you can't control. It begins with changing the signals you send. When you become comfortable saying no, address disrespect early, and allow trust to develop gradually instead of instantly, you become far more difficult to manipulate. Strong boundaries don't push away the right people. They simply expose those who were only interested in what they could gain from you. The people who truly value you won't feel threatened by your standards because they never intended to violate them in the first place. Another habit that changes everything is learning to judge people by consistent patterns instead of isolated moments. Everyone makes mistakes, has stressful days, or says the wrong thing from time to time. What separates healthy people from toxic ones is accountability. A healthy person acknowledges their behavior, apologizes sincerely, and makes an effort to improve. A toxic person repeats the same harmful actions while creating new excuses each time. When you focus on long-term patterns instead of temporary emotions or persuasive words, it becomes much harder for manipulation to hide behind charm, promises, or emotional pressure. The encouraging news is that you don't have to become cold, suspicious, or emotionally distant to protect yourself. You simply need to combine kindness with discernment, compassion with confidence, and empathy with healthy boundaries. You cannot control who crosses your path, but you can decide who earns a permanent place in your life. Once toxic people realize their usual tactics no longer work on you, they almost always move on in search of someone easier to influence. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more psychology-based insights that help you build stronger relationships and make wiser decisions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.